commercial break. Let's go back to regular programming. Mr. Speaker, before I present my presentation to this August House today, the Honorable Member, Mr. Duncan, went at length using the media to report the activities of law enforcement in combating the trafficking of illegal guns and illegal drugs, to pin it on the government. What a sad thing to do. Because I am sure any primary school student could take all of the reports under the APNU AFC and they could also pin it. But what is more important? During the period of the APNU AFC, the brother of a sitting minister who was also responsible for the airport, his brother was found in a foreign jurisdiction trafficking drugs. That is not a lie. But you're trying to pin the illegal activities of the underworld on a government, and you had a government minister whose brother was convicted. Mr. Speaker, I've also heard the honorable member going to length about quoting from this person, that person about corruption. Mr. Speaker, the ultimate test of anti-corruption measures in Guyana and in this National Assembly is your declaration to the Integrity Commission. I call on the honorable members to publish on their Facebook page the receipt of their Integrity Commission's declaration 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. If you weren't corrupt, declare it. Declare it. Publish it. Mr. Ramjitan likes to talk about publishing on the website. You know what? They came into government without making a declaration, so there was no baseline that people could judge them on. So now their wealth that they're now talking about, there was no baseline to see how it grew from where they came in to where they are now. Every member of the PPPC consistently every year made their declaration to the Integrity Commission. And you coming here to lecture us about corruption? You coming here to lecture us about corruption? Every year. Mr. Speaker, the Bible has admonished me as a student of theology, you don't answer fools. Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate, like I would have done year after year, my brother and friend who I enjoy working with, the Honorable Dr. Ashley Singh, for a job well done in presenting Budget 2022. I take the opportunity as well to thank the hardworking and dedicated staff at the Ministry of Finance and all of our technical staff throughout the various ministries for the hard work, the consultations, their participation in the very many consultations to get us to where we are today. And today, we are debating this budget. Mr. Speaker, a budget is not just about numbers. It has a context. A budget must be discussed in a particular context. And Dr. Ashley Singh, when he presented this budget, highlighted for us that context. And I'd like to remind the House. I read from the budget document. Over the 18 months that have elapsed since democracy prevailed, pessimism has been replaced with optimism. Lethargy has made way for energy. Superficiality has made way for substance, and pomp and pageantry have made way for humility and hard work. The policy void that existed then has been replaced with vision and clear direction. Institutional inertia has been replaced with dynamism, and empty rhetoric has been replaced with concrete actions. Today, investors who had walked away are returning, and projects that had stalled have resumed. Where there was once economic contraction, there is now economic expansion. And where there was once job losses, there is now job creation. These developments are clear for all to see, and they illustrate simply the indisputable relationship between democratic and economic outcomes. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2022 is altruistic, it's realistic, and it's futuristic. The plans, the projects, the programs, and the policies outlined is as a result of forward thinking. It is undergirded and supported by visionary planning. It could best be described as imaginative and strategic, and will be remembered as the budget that laid the foundation for the Guyana that is being built. A Guyana that is the brightest spot in this hemisphere and globally. And development that is coming to this Guyana, I dare say, is not for one of us, it's not for some of us, it's not even for the best of us. It is for all of us, one Guyana. Mr. Speaker, this budget that we are debating addresses the welfare of the working class. It speaks to bread and butter issues. It addresses the plight that the Honorable Mr. Duncan just spoke about this 6-year-old boy. I did read a story who was walking, begging, and the policeman who met him and bought him food. But, Mr. Speaker, that boy is in that plight because his parents, over the 5-year period that the APNU AFC were in office, they were unable to take care of themselves. They were unable to take care of their children. They were unable to get a job. They were unable to have savings. This budget restores hope to Guyanese people and will bring them out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, when we speak about the cash grant for children, the school feeding program, we speak about increasing pensions and providing public assistance, when we speak about programs to empower women, and when we think about taking care of the vulnerable groups in our society, this budget addresses all of that. But, Mr. Speaker, you would know, as a very experienced man in the field of economics as well, you cannot develop a country if you're not growing the middle class. This budget, with the measures that have been put in place, is designed to grow the middle class. You know what evidence of the middle class growing? The Guyana Revenue Authority has just announced that the PAD series has been exhausted in 6 months, and they're about to go into PAC. In 6 months. You know what that means? The dreams of our young people. Public servants are no longer in poverty with bicycles. They're buying their own cars. They're owning their own homes. This budget speaks about ensuring the viability of young people and their families, benefits for their mortgage, ensuring medical and insurance. Mr. Speaker, we have to grow the middle class. We have to reduce the bottom and grow the middle. We have to eliminate poverty. And the measures and the policies and the programs that are in this budget help to do that. I heard someone, I guess it's because of lack of understanding, said in these debates, you can't eat roads. But listen to this, Mr. Duncan, you should listen to this and put it in the ring. Roads make people eat. And I will explain to you how people eat when we put in roads just now. You can't eat roads, but without roads you can't eat. So I'll come to that just now. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, this budget lays the foundation and provides the framework for the modernization, transformation, and sustainable prosperity of Guyana. The projects, the infrastructural development, it's not just for the now. When we talk about the gas to shore and the gas to energy project, this is not just a now thing. This is about sustainable prosperity. When we reduce the cost of electricity, more investors will come to Guyana. Mr. Speaker, I've spoken about this, but I'll say it again. In Guyana, we have IC, drink, soft drink. We have Buster, and we got Trill. Trill, I think, comes from Trinidad. Buster comes from Suriname, and we produce IC here. Trill and Buster sells cheaper in Guyana than IC. I guess Mr. Duncan and his group.
I just don't want to be unfair to the other local manufacturer, Soka.
Speaker. There's also Soka. Mr. Speaker, the group of journeymen who are myopic in their outlook, they will never understand that Guyana must be able to compete. You could imagine we have wood in Guyana, wood, and we are buying furniture overseas. I know that is why, Mr. Speaker, the cost to produce the value added here. This, what we are doing when we invest in electricity, is to ensure Guyana's sustainable prosperity. Mr. Speaker, our investments in the infrastructure to accommodate agriculture. So this budget provides $5 billion to support sea and river defenses. But it's not just boulders and riprap sea defenses we are thinking about. We're thinking about the thousands of farmers who plant cash crops, rice, sugar, the poultry farmers, the cattle farmers. They have to be able to carry on their trade, so we have to keep the sea out. So we are making the investment to secure agriculture. So bricks, though, you can't eat the stone on the sea defense, but because we put it there, people can eat. Mr. Speaker, we all know, because we travel in the Caribbean, tourism is one of the sectors that creates employment in large scale. We have to put in place the infrastructure to support tourism. It means the tourists, when they come here, they have to be able to get to land safely at the airstrips in the interior, go to the eco lodges, get back out. We have to be able to put in place the infrastructure to ensure that the tourist who's coming here to rent a car, to drive and see the country, there's proper road safety and there are proper roads to encourage that. So the investment in infrastructure supports tourism. When we invest, sir, and we put the roads, whether they are hinterland roads or whether they are urban roads or farm to market access roads, or we opening up superhighways, these are not roads that are leading to just a destination. For example, there will be a new superhighway from Schoonard to Parika. While the road starts at Schoonard and ends at Parika, it opens up opportunities. It is not just leading to Parika, but it's leading to prosperity. Opportunities for housing, opportunities for farming. We have given incentives for large-scale plantation agriculture. Those roads open up those opportunities. Mr. Speaker, when we build all of the 32 bridges from Kurupakari to Letem, we're not just pouring concrete and steel and putting it on earth. We are making a corridor open to move to the next leg of linking Linden with Letem, which essentially is opening up tens of millions of people in a new market in northern Brazil. The road is leading so that people can eat. Mr. Speaker, when we invest in the number 58 road that is linking the Quarantine Highway with the Kanji Creek and possibly be able to get over the Kanji Creek, you know what we're doing, sir? The sons of the farmers could now get their own lands. The grandsons of those who farm there could get their own lands. We're opening up new lands. So the infrastructure program of Guyana and the investments that we are making in infrastructure is not just brick, loom, sand, concrete, and asphalt. It's opportunities to lead for prosperity for the people of Guyana. And I'm proud to be part of such a project. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides for affordable housing. It provides for world-class healthcare facilities. It provides accessible education for all, from nursery and more realistically now, university or tertiary, including technical and vocational training. It provides opportunities for young people. It provides opportunities for the small businesses. It provides opportunities for improving the business competitiveness for the private sector. This budget, and I would like the honorable members in the opposition to hear, provides dignity for our men and women in uniform. It provides dignity for them. Mr. Speaker, this budget addresses the health and wellness issues of our public servants. It provides for the development of their careers, and it also provides for their well-being. The president has been speaking over and over again. One thing to do is to give salary increases. And everybody wants to talk about salary increases, but this budget also provides for non-salary benefits, housing, health care, scholarships, free. So go and tell the people in the ring that this budget is not doing nothing for them. They are listening to Bishop Edghill this morning. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides for the economic advancement of Amerindians. Last year budget, we bought tractors and harrows and the machinery for harvesting and the plows and the trailers to transport people. I'm proud to report to this House that in Region 8, we were able to give contracts to all of the communities to build the roads. Because not, you just can't have the tractor, but you must be able to link the communities. You know what that means? They must be able to move between villages. And Mr. Speaker, we didn't only confine them to Region 8, we are building the road from Region 9 to Region 8 so they could get out to Lethem, and once they get out to Lethem, they could get to any other part of this country. That's what we are doing with our infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the PPPC is not afraid of big things. We're not afraid of doing mega projects. You know, there are different kinds of phobias. There is acrophobia, people who are afraid of heights. There's aerophobia, people who are afraid of flying. But then there's another phobia, megalophobia. People are afraid of big things. This aptly describes that section of the house that I'm looking at. They are afraid of doing big things. So, Mr. Speaker, every time something big is discussed, they get scared. Amalia, the one project that would have already been benefiting Guyana, they scuttled it. It is too big for them to understand. So now they hear gas to shore, too big for them to understand. You hear $88 billion in infrastructure, too big for them to understand. You hear a budget of $552.9 billion, too big for them to understand. Mr. Speaker, and let me take the time to correct, because an honorable member stood in this house and said, up until now, they don't understand how much money from the Natural Resources Fund will be spent and where. Now, I know we have comprehension issues, and Minister of Education, I've appealed to you over and over again to address this issue of comprehension. In the opposition. But Mr. Speaker, you know why we are in this house? Because every cent from the Natural Resources Fund that will be spent to support budget 2022 will be transferred to the consolidated fund. And money could only leave the consolidated fund by an appropriation act. An appropriation act is something that takes place in this house. Next week, every member over there who has the capacity to understand, they will be able to ask questions. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, there are no foolish questions, so they could ask any question. Answers will be given, and at the end of it, a vote will be made. When that is done, that bill is signed into an act, and that's where the money is spent. Oil money, gold money, rice money, sugar money, taxes money, all in one fund, and it is financing a development plan. So that is a simple explanation. Mr. Speaker, but I have a message. I have a message for Guyana. And I have a message to all of the 31 members. Well, 30 right now, waiting on one. I have a message. They like to quote from the Bible. So I will help them with a scripture. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 4. Hear what Proverbs says. Lazy hands bring poverty. Diligent hands bring prosperity. That is the definition of what took place 2015, 2020. Lazy hands. Institutional inertia. Doing nothing. Hear what verse 5 says. A wise man harvests in summer. Mr. Speaker, summer is that favorable season. You make use of the opportunity. You seize the moment. Make hay while the sun shines. And since many of them are biblically oriented, it is what is called the Kairos moment or a prophetic moment. A wise man sows in summer. But listen to this. Minister Singh, thank you. Because he who sleeps in summer is a disgrace. You expect the Irfan Ali-led administration to be sleeping in this summer season? The answer is a big no. President Ali and his team, Guyana, will not sleep in this summer moment. We will work with diligent hands to implement, to ensure that prosperity come to the people of Guyana. The contributions of this APNU AFC shows that they lack foresight or they're having difficulties with intellectual insight. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you about some of the achievements of the Ministry of Public Works since we came to office. Mr. Speaker, I want to start with the Cheddi Jagan International Airport. I went there for several festivities, and the Guyanese coming back home. I don't need to listen to people who are anti-development and anti-progress. I listen to people who, when they land here, they say, wow, you guys are doing a good job. I was here 3 years ago. I was here 4 years ago. The 1,500 issues that had to be fixed, we fixed it. Mr. Speaker, we opened a new runway. And besides that, we have been able to put in the instrument landing system as well as the ADSB system. You know what that means? When the pilots are for the planes, Minister Singh, that we went Qatar Airways or all of the flights, transatlantic flights coming here, they want predictability that they must be able to land and not to be diverted to another airport because they can't see the runway. We have been able to address those issues. We have been able to work with the Chinese contractor with all of the difficulties and the problems of a project that was plagued by mismanagement under the APNU AFC. And we're now getting them to put in what was always required, additional air bridges, the facade. We're getting them to put in the curtain wall. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Duncan spoke about one pothole that a contractor that we give to paint the road paint. One pothole. But I would like to report to this National Assembly, in 2021, through the Special Projects Unit of the Ministry, we have rehabilitated and maintained 517 kilometers of road in Georgetown, in Tamari, on Berbice. 517 kilometers. So if you want judges on one pothole, let the other drivers tell you what we have fixed, and they have seen the visibility of what was done. Mr. Speaker, we have done in excess of 300 kilometers of community roads. We have had to respond to emergencies The bridge that collapsed at Hawk Street, the Eastern Highway leading to Congress Place, we fixed it. We were trying to get it fixed before Congress. We wanted to do that, but we couldn't get it done in time because they weren't sure if they were having or not having. We fixed the bridge in New Amsterdam at Glasgow. We fixed the bridge at Dennis Street. All emergency works. And we went on to fix a number of community bridges. We've installed more than 700 street lights covering a 30 kilometers area in terms of infrastructural development. We have provided for walkways, pedestrian walkways at Port Drawing, at Anna Regina, at Tushin, at Albert Street, and St. Road. We have done the construction of all-weather roads at Molson Creek to El Dorado. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Minister. You need an extension to continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask that the honourable member have as much time as he'd like, but I'm confined to ask you for 5 minutes to conclude his excellent presentation.
Thank you, Honourable Minister Teixeira. Honourable member, you may continue to your conclusion in 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. We have fixed those farm-to-market access roads, and the road from Sand Hills to Tamiri is no longer a dream, Honorable Member Mr. Ramjitan. You will join me in one of those new pickups that we are taking off the VAT and excise tax off so we could be able to get to those roads and we will enjoy it. The alignment from Parika to Goshen. And I heard somebody out in Makawara asking if the road reaching Makawara will reach Goshen. You got past Makawara to get to Goshen. So we're building the road, the alignment is being cut. Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to those city fences. We have been able to get the MV Kanawaima back in service. The MV Kanawaima was down since 2019. As a matter of fact, the APNU AFC didn't have the capacity to engage the Surinamis. It looks like they couldn't get nothing done with Suriname. Because of the interventions at the highest level and dialogue between Guyana and Suriname and friendly relations, the Kanawaima is back in service. Mr. Speaker, in terms of what is happening in the maritime sector, we have already bought a new pilot boat, not one that's going 6 knots and 12 knots, because you'll never get where you're going with the 52 ships that you have to bring into Port Georgetown every week with a 6 knots and a 12 knots. But we are building a better boat and a bigger boat. Mr. Speaker, the Transport and Harbors Department, which was an entity that all of us had great concern for because of its liabilities and its inability to finance itself, last year earned revenues of over $1 billion. Mr. Speaker, and by the way, ask the users of the Parika Supernam service the satisfaction that they now enjoy because of the additional service that was put in place. People, during the Christmas period, people commended the Transport and Harbors Department for the service they were able to get to Georgetown, get back home on the same day because of visionary interventions there. Mr. Speaker, the Government Electrical Inspectorate Department have adopted 31 new electrical standards, and they are now implemented across the country to ensure safety in homes and the prevention of electrical fires. We now have a register of contractors, and everything there is digitized, computerized. Mr. Speaker, in terms of our report card, The International Civil Aviation Organization ranked Guyana as #1 on the Safety Oversight Index in the area of operations. This is a testament of the country's robust safety oversight capabilities when compared to all 35 states in South America, Latin America, Caribbean, and North America. Guyana was ranked #1. Additionally, Guyana has ranked #2 on the Safety Oversight Index in the area of air navigation services in all 35 states. So including America, Canada, and the whole South American sun, we're #1 where safety is concerned, and we're #2 in terms of our air navigational services. Mr. Speaker, we are not boasting that we have done well and we have done everything perfect. We are basically saying we have repaired the damage, and this budget is laying the platform for us to take it to the next level. The Demerara Harbor Bridge, we've been able to make the necessary interventions. And Mr. Speaker, isn't it strange that for the whole period that we are in, we didn't have one sea defense breach? You know why? Because we are maintaining and inspecting. Isn't it strange, Mr. Speaker, that the bridge didn't collapse and people had to wait for days to pass? Because we are maintaining and fixing. Mr. Speaker, the $88+ billion made available to us this year in Budget 2022 will be used prudently, and I use this opportunity to call upon all stakeholders, contractors, engineers, consultants, as well as the beneficiaries, the people of Guyana, for us to work together to ensure that every project that is being implemented in your community is done correctly. Mr. Speaker, I know my time is gone, but let me just close and say, when the story of Guyana's economic transformation and modernization is recorded in the annals of history, Budget 2022 will be annotated as the critical point in that journey. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.